Hey, welcome back, everyone. Mr. Burns here. Thank you so much for sitting through that first video. We will also have a playlist for the entire set review so that it's broken up into chunks. But, if you got a long drive or something, you want to listen to something more long form, you can listen to all of them in a row if you would like. So, we had a great suggestion from Greg. Okay. Of course, not Greg Tito. That man would never say my name. It was actually Greg is fun. And it wasn't so much a suggestion as he just did it. And I thought it was fantastic. He said, roll call attendance here. And I got a big kick out of that because obviously, we have the university theme and everything. So, yeah, if people just want to comment and be like, hey, I'm here for the day, don't mark me absent, that would be amazing. And thank you to all the comments, seriously. No matter what, no matter how much fun I have with the community at DLCs and everything like that, when you're jumping into a brand new project, it's always scary, no matter what anyone tells you, right? If they tell you otherwise, then they've probably either been in that position so much that they're numb to it, or it's fake it till you make it. And I'm not really good at faking it. So thank you so much, everyone. Seriously, I really appreciate it. And hopefully this video looks and sounds a little better, thanks to Ruben, because he has taken pity on me, or maybe he's taken pity on everyone out there and was like, we got to clean that up. So thank you so much, Ruben. And all he wanted in return was for everyone to enjoy. So I seriously cannot thank him enough. But all right, we're going to jump into the Amethyst cards now. First of all, we have Petrify. So exert chosen opposing character, 1 cost, uninkable. People are pretty high on this card from what I've seen. People are talking about, well, this is going to help with Elsa being gone and stuff like that. I'm pretty low on it. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5, actually. So we have Isis Vanderchill, right? And that's already going to occupy a lot of the uninkable slots, in my opinion, in Amethyst. So I know that like everyone falls into this trap of like, oh, this is a brand new thing. So, it's really good, even though like we haven't gotten our hands on it. So we kind of just have to go by either how it feels or cards that we're used to in this situation. And I actually think Swooping Strike is kind of close to power level to this. I understand that you don't get to pick with Swooping Strike, right? But if we're in a mid-range metagame, or if we're in a control metagame, not so much one of these spew out tons of little characters that don't matter, right? Then Swooping Strike will be just as effective a lot of the time. And when it's not, you can actually just ink it, right? If your opponent only has one character ready, they're gonna have to pick it. So maybe try that card. But then again, Isis is just there, and Isis is a 5 out of 5 card. So, all right, moving on, we have Maleficent. This is obviously just a shift target. Since it actually has very good shift targets in the game, we'll give it a 3 out of 5. It's not like, all the other 1 cost 2/2 vanillas that have nothing really going for it. So, moving on, Abu. 1 cost 2/2, quest for 2, ruler for a day. He is the Sultan. When this character quests, banish him. I don't understand this card. We're just gonna assume you gain the 2 lore, right? Because that's how things generally work in this game. Things that have triggers wait to be pulled out of the bag until everything is completed with the actual card. So it's so interesting. Like there are times that you are playing like a whole new world deck or something, and or even dogs, how it used to play Daisy, you would just play it and it would sit there and just stare at your opponent. And then eventually you would just win all in one turn. So it is slightly possible that that will be a thing, right? I would still think this card's probably better than Thievery in most scenarios. Shout out to Uncle G. But yeah, I'm going to give this one a 1.5 out of 5. I'm going to be nice. I don't like 0.5s, but it's not, use it as a test card for something else bad, but it's pretty much there. Miko, 1 cost, 1/3, quest for 1. And this one does have a shift target. So we will give this a 3 out of 5 just because, pure utility. Pete, Created by the Vine. Your Floodborn characters gain Challenger +1. It's a 1-cost 1/2. So I don't believe there's anything we can shift onto this because the Shift Pete is, of course, a Duel Link card that's not Amethyst. It is possible I'm forgetting something that's just never really seen play. But we have seen this on a Madam Mim, right? Affectionately called Skater Mim, where you just give things Challenger that your opponent are not expecting to get Challenger, and you kind of just get them, right? I could see this card in a Floodborn heavy character deck being a 1 or a 2 of, especially in an open decklist format, because then your opponent always has to respect it. I think that's something that's not talked about that much because, of course, even myself, I'm really trying to appeal to the set champs player, right? Someone like DKP is not watching my videos. People that are playing in open list formats on the regular are probably not watching unless they just, like my rosy personality. But yeah, I think that it's a fine card. I'd give it a 2 out of 5. Broken Pod, 1-cost item. Exert, pay 1. Put a card from chosen player's discard on the bottom of their deck. So it looks like there's going to be a bunch of these 1-cost utility items. We saw one in Amber. We see one right next to it, in fact. I think this card's super interesting. I've played other games where like this kind of effect is extremely powerful. So far, the biggest thing that I would want to use this against my opponent for would be Lilo, right? Escape Artist, but that's actually rotating. So if we're talking about core constructed, it does trigger things like Anna, and it triggers the Kristoff, the uninkable 4-cost Kristoff, right? I say right because don't quote me on that one. We're going to have to double check that card. But I do see some small utility for this. I also still just don't like cards in my deck that don't gain more or draw cards or interact with my opponent's board when I'm in a top deck situation. So because of that, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. The Magical Honey Staff. Once during your turn, you may pay 1 ink to give chosen character of yours the honey classification until the start of your turn. Interestingly, you don't have to exert this for that. So you can still go ahead and use the exert, pay 2 ink. Chosen honey character of yours gains evasive until the start of your next turn. So kind of interesting. We've seen, obviously Dumbo's Magical Feather, right? And people tried that when it first came out and then have realized, like, again, you can't play a lot of cards that do nothing when you have nothing in play or when you're losing, right? This does not help with the Christopher Robin. Someone at the Set Champs in the past 2 weeks has asked me that, so we'll just get that out of the way in case anyone is wondering. I think that this card is fine. It's no ink runner, right? But if you're in a situation where you just cannot deal with evasives and you're playing a honey deck, which as far as I've seen so far, the honey deck is probably going to be more of a social deck, which is fantastic. This makes it so that you can still put your favorite characters in your deck and it can interact well with all of your other honey characters. As far as like, would I bring this to a set championships? I'll give it a 2 out of 5. You've Got Some Punch. 2-cost action song. Chosen character gains rush and challenger +2 this turn. So I do not like these songs that don't, they let you trade up, right? And you think that's good. I'm going to take my 1 or 2 cost character and I'm going to trade up into a character that costs 3 or 4, and I'm going to get a tempo swing. I'm going to get a big tempo advantage. Except you're not really, because you're investing another card, and the fact that you're either paying 2 ink for it or you're using one of your other characters who could have done something else. So at best, you're probably breaking even. Most of the time, you're probably losing card advantage and probably losing board state. So I don't like effects like this, and I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5. 2-cost Protective Aura. Inkable. Your Floodborn characters gain evasive until the start of your next turn. And this is just an action. It's not a song. Floodborn characters are already pretty strong. So I'm not really seeing a scenario where I want a card that does nothing when I have nothing in play. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5. Winnie the Pooh, Honey Archmage. 2 cost, 2, 3. So it's giving up 1 stat point because quest for 1. But while you have 2 or more other honey characters in play, this character gets +2 lore. I think this is one of the best honey characters in the game, actually. This reminds me a lot of Yensid. Obviously, we're not drawing cards, but this is also a common. It's not legendary, right? So I'm going to give this card a 2 out of 5 just because the other honey characters I don't think are the greatest. And, we do want cards that are greater than the sum of their parts, but we also need cards to stand alone, right? So I will give it a 2 out of 5, but I think that if they go heavier into this honey theme, that this could easily creep to a 3 or a 4 out of 5, which is a lot to get out of a 2 cost inkable common card. So I'm looking forward to see what they do in the future with that. 2 cost, 2/3 Mei Lin Lee, red panda character. It's interesting because I really feel like the red panda deck is probably going to be Ruby Amber. So we have to keep that in mind when we're evaluating a card like this. When you shift a character on top of her, this character gains evasive until the start of your next turn. And we will get into it when we get into Ruby. There are so many amazing Ruby shifts, right? So, I do kind of like this. It's kind of like Toys, right? So Toys has heavy Amber, some Ruby, some Emerald. So you can kind of build it in 2 different directions, and they can make powerful cards that don't just automatically get mashed together. You have to make concessions one way or the other. So it being a shift target, knowing that the shifts are quite strong, and again, we will get to them, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. I would love for it to cost 1 ink. As we've seen, most shift targets that cost 2 are generally just not good enough most of the time. So I will give it a 2 out of 5. Hey. So what do horses eat? Yes, hey. What if they want seconds? Hey. So hey, created by the Vine. Oh, it's a Vineling. I absolutely love the art on these Vinelings, by the way. Not to sound, too off base here because this is sort of a competitive channel, but I love that they're actually look like they were created by the Vine, because they were. 2 costs, 1/3 inkable, quest for 1. Whenever one of your Floodborn characters quests, you may move 1 damage from chosen character to chosen opposing character. Yeah, we have seen this kind of effect without it having any restrictions whatsoever, and it still wasn't really good enough. So I will give this, unfortunately, a 1 out of 5. I feel bad. It is a hey. Steve Warner might reach through the screen and smack me upside the head. 2 costs, 2/2 Tinkerbell, quest for 2, ally fairy. I really can't wait for fairies to for the type to really matter. I know there are some cards that are fairies, there's some cards that care about it, but I think it would be really awesome. My daughters will absolutely love it when we can have a Tinkerbell deck. This is just a generic, on rate. This is the rate for a 2 cost 2/2 that quests for 2. And it is a shift target. Again, I like my shift targets to be 1, but the fact that it's still just fine on its own, it's a threat late game. It's rare that your shift target can actually when you're close to winning, put you over the edge. So I'll just give it a 3 out of 5. It's an average card. Morph. We see the return of Morph. 2 cost, 1/2 rather than a 2/1, but still has the same questing power, the same cost. It's inkable, and basically the same ability as the first Morph, the Emerald Morph, from all the way back when. And that ability is you can shift any character on top of this character. This has always been an amazing effect. This will always be an amazing effect because although it costs 2, and you might not even get an ink advantage, the surprise factor is phenomenal. If you have multiple cards in your deck that have shift and your opponent cannot specifically play around them, if I play this Tinkerbell and I am Amethyst Steel, they're probably going to play around the 4 cost, the 4 shift, 6 cost giant Tink, right? It's just what you're used to playing around. If you play something like this Morph, the fear of the unknown is crippling. right? I think we see that in most things in life. And the fact that it's a 1/2 now, I think previously a 2/1 was better, but because of cards like Eleanor, I think a 1/2 is actually much better right now. I really like that they printed this card rather than, reprinting the older one. And we have more Diablo shift targets in Amethyst, Emerald, and Infinity. So uh I'm gonna give Morph a 5 out of 5. I know it seems so boring, this random uncommon 2 cost 1/2. Trust me, if you've never played with the other morph before, you're in for a treat for sure. Peter Pan, 2 cost 1/3, playful prankster. Quest for 1. When you play this character, a chosen opposing character can't ready at the start of your next turn. This is most likely only going to be played as a shift target. It has some utility late game, which is nice, but I don't think that this is almost ever going to really affect the game in a way that you would like to. There are obviously going to be corner cases, 5% of the time, 2% of the time where this wins you the game, but like any other card also would have. So I will give this a 2 out of 5. 3 costs, one and only action, not a song. Choose a character, banish all other characters with the same name as that character. Wouldn't it be great if Morph was every character? So obviously you want to pick your own character. You want to be in a mirror match with your opponent, and you both have the same named character in play. You pick yours and you banish theirs. Worst case scenario is no one has anything in play that is not a unique name and it does nothing. But, middling case scenario, I guess, is your opponent has 2 characters in play that have the same name and you pick one. Pretty interesting. The tag team characters, right, have 2 names. So if you pick one of those, if you pick Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, you're banishing all Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, I would assume, especially considering like it's in the set that has the tag team characters. That being said, really fun idea. Really hilarious. Your opponent will be livid if you actually pull this off. But I will give it a 1 out of 5 as far as competitive play goes. Panic, 3 cost, 3/1, quest for 2 with Rush. So these cards are so interesting because, it's like you want to play it and use it immediately. But then it will just be banished in the challenge and you'll never get to quest for 2. So it's kind of funny when they add cards like this. I understand that it's more like, hey, I can either challenge something if I need to, or, well, it quests for 2, so I'll just leave it around. I'll challenge nothing. So it has some versatility, so I will give it a 2 out of 5. I don't think it's good enough in either of the scenarios, honestly. 3 costs, 2/4, quest for 1, so it's giving up 2 stat points for stealing it. This Vixie here. When you play this character, if you have a character with an evasive in play, you may return chosen character, item, or location will cost 2 or less to their player's hands. That's an interesting one. This is pretty good. This is my first time seeing this. I tried not to have too many preconceived notions while still, wanting to sound like I know what I'm talking about, because trust me, I do. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to have a 1 or 2 cost evasive character, right? And then you just play this on curve and bounce your opponent's 2 costs back to their hand, or return, as we've seen many, many times, return something of your own to your hand. I think people are going to be pretty happy that, if they weren't already, I saw Mo was pretty happy about this, that Doc has rotated, so you can't just keep bouncing that late game. Really interesting is you can bounce Hercules, the 2-cost uninkable 2/1 Hercules. And late game, that's so powerful. I mean, you could even have this in your discard pile. If you have a character with evasive, play the Hercules, get Vixie, play Vixie, return the Hercules, play the Hercules, get something else, right? Obviously, we have no hand in this scenario. That's why I said late game. Please don't do this on turn 2 and 3. But yeah, I think this card is pretty good. That doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be a 4 of in every deck. That doesn't mean it's going to be in every Amethyst deck. But I can see a lot of really good scenarios with this card, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. 3 costs, Grandma Wu. 1/4, Challenger +2, Quest for 1. When you shift a character on top of this character, gain 1 lore. So, we have some temporary shift things. Again, we're going to get to that. So, I believe there's one that shifts onto this character. Obviously, considering it has the ability, when you shift a character on top of it, you gain 1 lore. But I believe that all the temporary shift stuff still leaves the character under exerted. So I'm not sure if this card will see any play because of that, because a 1/4 really cannot defend itself. It's interesting that it has Challenger +2, so you want to use it to, keep your opponent's board at bay. But then you're gonna just shift on top of it anyway. So because of this, I'm gonna give this a 1 out of 5. Narrow Escape, 4 cost. Return up to 2 chosen characters, items, or locations with cost 2 or less to their player's hands. All right, not a song. On the surface, if you're picking your opponent's characters, this card's awful. At best, they have 2 cards that cost 2, which is not that common when most decks are playing up the curve. 1 cost, 2 cost, 3 cost, 4 cost. So when you're playing this on turn 4, if you're playing this on turn 4, then you're probably returning a 1 cost and a 2 cost. Your opponent might even be happy about that. They might be like, yeah, this 1 cost character wasn't doing anything anyway. I played it all the way on turn 1. I'm going to ink it now. I'm going to just go ahead and Demona and Hades and all that right in your face now that I have more ink available to myself. That being said, you could do the same thing. I think that the only way that this card is being played is if you are returning either 2 of your characters back to your hand because you have some kind of cool trick to do with it. It doesn't have to be a character item. You can return Ink Runner, stuff like that. Or if you're returning 1 of theirs and 1 of yours, this is something that you could continuously Hercules, like I was just saying. So I could see this being a 1 of if you have some kind of cool interaction with it. If you are thinking that you're going to play this and just like ruin your opponent's good time, it's probably not going to happen. The metagame could completely shape up where that's fine. I'll give it a 2 out of 5 though. That doesn't mean it's absolutely unplayable. That just means the use case for it are very low. All right, 4 cost, 3/3, Quest for 2, Evasive Genie. They fixed Genie. It's not uninkable and it doesn't draw a card when it comes into play. So it has the same stats as the old Genie, right? And the old Genie had uninkability so that it could draw a card. So this is technically the same exact rate as the previous Genie. That being said, I would never play this card. I could just play Dumba, right? I could just play cards that don't just get eaten up freely by my opponent's strength when they play up the curve, stuff like that. I need my cards that cost 4 or more to do something the turn I play them, or when they're banished, or they have to be broken. And this is none of those things. So I will give this a 1 out of 5. I'm actually like super low on this. I'm shocked I'm seeing it in people's deck lists that they're like posting on Twitter and stuff like that. It's possible that they just want to test out all the new cards. I just don't see this card being effective. All right, Pain, 4 cost, 5/3, Quest for 1. When you play this character, if you have a card named Panic in your discard, gain 2 lore. This card I like. This card's a 4 cost card, and it does something the turn you play it. And the later in the game you get, the more likely you have a card named Panic in your discard pile. Or it's possible that you just like Bobby Zimmerowski'd Panic into your discard pile, right? I think that this card is, even though I'm saying I like it, I think it's going to be like a 2, maybe a 3 out of 5. I don't see this being played in every Amethyst deck. I think this is going to be played in more of like a Sly version, like a deck that you are just trying to like kind of skate by with the win and close out the game as soon as possible. So, I mean, I also, I like that Zinkable. Cost 4, and it trades up into things. It does have 5 strength, right? It doesn't do nothing when it's on the board. So, yeah, 2 or 3 out of 5. If I had to lock in, I'd say it 2. 4 costs, uninkable, 3/3, Quest for 2, Mingli. When you shift a character on top of this character, chosen opposing exerted character can't ready at the start of their next turn. Yeah, uninkable, not a big fan of. Doesn't do anything the turn that you play it. Yeah, quests are 2, but you want to shift things on top of it. So like these stats kind of don't even matter that much. Again, unless it's a temporary shift. And then we would love this to be like a 4-2 or a 5-1 or something, because your opponent is most likely just going to banish it the following turn. So I will give this one a 1 out of 5. Merida. We've got the legendary. We've got a 4-cost uninkable 3/3 quest for 1. This character may enter play exerted to draw a card. During your turn, whenever another character of yours enters play exerted, you may draw a card. So obviously, this is something with the Horn King, right? And I've seen a lot of people high on this card. I've seen a lot of people, or I've heard a lot of people, even at set champs the past couple weekends, since this has been spoiled, talking about how much they love this card. I don't understand. I don't understand at all. You play it, it enters play exerted, you draw a card, your opponent banishes it. That's like almost always what's going to happen, right? Or you are saving it to the late game where you can play it and play a few characters. That I can get behind, but we're lacking a lot of ramp. That's good ramp. We're sitting on this 4-cost uninkable. Maybe we only play 1 or 2 of it so that we hopefully draw it late game. But again, if we draw it in like our opening hand or something, it's just the worst case scenario ever. Does have huge upside, right? But I want cards to stand alone that get better with other cards. And because of that, I'm giving this a 2 out of 5. I'm sorry, everyone. That's fine, though. Amethyst has the best legendaries in the game. Don't forget that. We're not evaluating this just based on Attack of the Vine. We're evaluating these cards based on the entirety of Core Constructed. All right. So we didn't really need Amethyst to get that much better draw power, if we're being honest. Mrs. Incredible, 4 costs, 4/3. When one of your Floodborn characters quests, and we pay 1 less for the next character you shift this turn. Kind of interesting. Doesn't do anything the turn I play it. It's 4 costs, 4/3. It quests for 1. I really, really do not want to play cards that cost 4 or more. I keep saying it, but I truly believe this. I don't want to play 4-cost cards that cost 4 or more that don't really do anything the turn that I play them or when they leave play. So because of that, I'm going to give this a 1 out of 5. Source of the Vine. 4 cost. Whenever an opposing character quests, you gain 1 lore unless that player pays 1 ink. This is an item, of course. Exert, pay 2, gain 1 lore. All right. Do you pay the 1? Do you pay the 1? Do you pay the 1? That's what we're going to hear for now for a long time. This card, super interesting. When I first saw this card, immediately I'm thinking worst case scenarios, right? Like that's just, I think, what we should do probably when we evaluate a lot of cards. Because when we're in the best case scenarios, kind of doesn't matter what we have. We're in the best case scenario. So worst case scenario is my opponent plays this and we're at parity. Worst case scenario for when this is in our deck is we have nothing in play and we play this and our opponent can just freely pay the 1 for all of their characters and it doesn't matter. But let's look at all the quadrants. When we are starting the game, it's bad. It's not doing anything. 0 out of 10. When we are winning the game, it's very good. But again, we can't really care about that quadrant that much. When we're winning the game, it's a 10 out of 10. It makes it so that we can freely quest and our opponents can't race us that well. Because we're not paying 1 for every character we quest with, but they are. On top of the fact that we also have this, exert, pay 2, gain 1 more. So it's 10 out of 10 there. When we're at parity, where both of us have nothing in play, this card is still good. This card is still a really expensive spellbook, right? So when we're at parity, where we have nothing in play, I would give it a 7 out of 10. When we're at parity, where we both have loads of stuff in play, it's very good because it's going to go ahead and propel us forward. We're going to be able to quest with everything, and they're going to have to either take some sort of, on-board trades and stuff like that, but they will not, almost certainly will not be able to just quest back in our face, right? This is another one of those cards that you could play before like Raging Storm, right? And then when your opponent knows it's coming, they either quest with everything, use all their ink, can't play anything else, and then you just either Raging Storm their board because they skipped a whole turn, or maybe they set you up for where you don't have to play the Raging Storm because they quest with everything, because they added nothing else to the board. You just trade into all their characters. So I actually think this card is quite good, even though it is an uninkable card. It costs 4. It's not a character. It's going to cost you 6 if you want to play it and use it on the same exact turn. Still think this card is quite good, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. All right, Ring of Stones. 4 costs, 7 willpower, 1 lore. Cost 1 to move here. Your Floodborn characters get +1 lore while here. 4 costs uninkable is going to be rough. We just saw what we could be using 4 cost uninkable slot 1, right? So because of that, I'm gonna, yeah. And again, like, you want to use this immediately. So you want to play it for 4, and then you want to move like 2 or 3 characters here, right? So really, we're looking at like 7 costs unequal. We're looking in like Hades territory, right? Because of that, I'm going to give this a 1 out of 5. Lumpy. One of the best cards from a previous set review I did with Heath over on the Mad Drafter. And again, I'm going to be on his channel soon. So please go and subscribe to your boy. 5 costs, 3/6, quest for 2. When you play this character, you may move up to 2 damage from chosen character to chosen opposing character, because of course Amethyst needed more ways to move damage onto characters. It's not like we didn't already have Belle and Cheshire Cat. And this one's Honey to boot, right? So, God, it adds up to 9 stat points as well. And it's an uncommon. Just dump all over Belle, why don't you? Just take Belle out back and smack her around a bit. This card's great, right? Obviously, Belle is a Floodborn. We see reasons that you would want Floodborn characters right now, so it's possible that you still would rather have Belle. But if you don't care about Floodborn, this card is just strictly better stats-wise. How is this uncommon? This is insane. Like, Belle was one of the best cards in Fabled. This card's a 5 out of 5. And it's a Honey character. This could be, one of the payoffs for playing Honey characters as well. This card's fantastic. Am I crazy here? Am I missing something, guys? Like, drop in chat, guys and girls. Am I missing something? Because how is this card so good? Am I stupid? It's possible. I am, but maybe not about this one. And this art is insane. 5 out of 5 art. All right, Hera, 5 costs, uninkable, 4/6. When you play this or another Floodborn character, gain 1 lore. So, getting a little bit of Madame Mim Merlin vibes with this one, right? I am going to be hard pressed to play a 5 cost uninkable, but I do see decks where you definitely want this. I think it's interesting. It's a deity. That's something that I'm always looking at. I love that all of these little subtypes matter now. It's a Floodborn. It's a queen. We've seen queens have mattered recently, right? It's a deity, and of course it's a Vineling, because it's a Floodborn that does not have shift in this set. So whenever you play this or another Floodborn gain 1 lore and it gains 1 on its own, I will give it a 2 out of 5. I think this card probably could have been inkable, but obviously, these cards are extremely scary based on, the previous history we have with GOAT and everything like that. So, all right, moving on. 6 cost, song with a few good friends. Sing together 6. Chosen player draws a card for each different ink type of characters you have in play. Yeah, this card is, well, obviously it's for the Honey deck, but if we think about draft, if we think about sealed, anything like that, this card's bonkers insane. I saw Heath, asking for its immediate ban in limited, and I don't blame him. This has to be the best card in the set, right? Spoilers, we're doing 6+, so we'll find out soon. Me and him over on his channel. But as far as constructed goes, it is the best payoff for the honey subtype, right? A lot of the cards are understated, aside from the ones that are already in Amethyst and Sapphire, because that's the base. So it's fine that those ones are, as they appropriately should be, power level. But all of these other ones that you're kind of adding to your deck from all these other ink colors have seemed understated so far. So this is a reason for you to have these understated cards in your deck. I say it a lot. You want cards to be greater than the sum of their parts, right? It's just like making a sandwich. You don't want to eat all of these things individually, but once you stack them all together and you have, this coherent thing in front of you, you're going to really get paid off for it. So I think this card is probably the reason people play honey in a constructed, competitive sense, if it is possible. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 because still not sure if honey is going to be able to get there. And all right, last card, 6 cost, 4/5, quest for 2. When you play this character, if a character of yours quested this turn, draw a card. So it's paying you off for the things that you already want to do, which we've discussed previously is a scary thing, right? We already want to quest, so getting paid off to quest is just like icing on the cake. But it is severely understated, and I do think that this is more of a limited card. In limited, I love it. I'll take as many as I can. Heath will, tell me and scold me and try to teach me better, but I want all the 6 cost cards in my deck I could possibly get, right? So in core constructed though, I'm gonna have to give this a 2 out of 5. I mean, we could just play Demona. I'm talking myself down. It's a 1 out of 5. Let's get it out of here. And let's get everyone else out of here too. Thank you so much, everyone. Class is dismissed. Check out all the links in the description below. Thank you again to Ruben. Thank you again to genuinely everyone who took the time to comment and took the time to come over to this new channel. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, see you later.